Hello dear YouTube Sangha, I'm Dharma Peace. If there's anything you should know about me, is that I like to try new things. So in this video, I want to blend my personal fanhood for a video game with my practice as an engaged Buddhist. And in this short thesis, I'm hoping to explain why I have such a deep love and appreciation for Final Fantasy VII, even now, well into my adulthood. So without further ado, let's get right into it. There are many ways people praise Final Fantasy VII. So often we hear how it is deemed a classic, influential, or even a masterpiece. And while I don't disagree with these appraisals, I think the conversation sticks too conventionally to the fact that it's a video game, without exploring all the other more profound ways this franchise both functions as a literary allegory and cautionary tale. While we could talk about what ground the franchise has broken in terms of technical feats and influence for other franchises in gaming and film, I want to bring attention to the literary genius of Kazushige Nojima and the development team. Mark my words, I actually think in 100 years from now, if human civilization survives, our progeny will be comparing Final Fantasy VII with Homer's Iliad or the Kojiki, Japan's literary chronicle. But why? Why would I make such a bold statement about this? And what does this have to do with engaged Buddhism? Well, historically, allegories teach us something about a society and how writers of their own time observed certain trends. Oftentimes, the heaviest hitting allegories are those that depict dystopian systems that fell down some slippery slope of catastrophic habit formation. In Final Fantasy VII's Midgar, we're shown that the epicenter of this world's polycrisis is a city built by Shinra Electric Power Company, a corporate mega-monopoly that expanded its business to include arms trade. In their trail is a timeline of coercive exploitation of people living near resource centers and pernicious destruction of lives. Social stratification in Midgar is stark, and this depiction of haves and have-nots is made most explicit in Midgar. However, signs of Shinra's evil are found wherever they go, yet their citizens grow so dependent and so inured that they defend Shinra's presence. Now hear this. The entire planet is facing rampant desertification. War rips through entire nations, and wealth is being accumulated by a shrinking minority of people. In the past, corporate messages attempted to smooth people over, and they even tried to appear as though they were on the side of the planet and people's safety and security. The system was working well enough to keep people ignorant and compliant with the new status quo. That was until more and more people grew wise to their corruption. People began calling out big energy directly. They even exposed their complicity to arms and militarism around the world. So then everything shifted. Coercion was made explicit once again, like it was in the old days. And now a figurehead stands at the top, plating everything in gold, not apologizing for punching down. In fact, he broadcasts his heavy-handed tactics for the world to see. And in those broadcasts, one message is always made clear: conform, or you're a foreign threat, or a plain terroristic enemy of the state. Okay, so by this point, you're probably wondering if I'm talking about Final Fantasy VII, a video game, or the real world. And that's my point. Mako, the source of energy in the world of Final Fantasy, is an analog to the real world's fossil fuels. And like our oil and gasoline, it is at the heart of the very infrastructure of the Shinra-led regime. Everyone depends on it to realize their way of life. So it becomes the lock-in where entire economies are built around. So when someone decides sense against the system. It sounds destabilizing to the people that are just living day to day. Yet the division of Midgar's upper plate from its lower plate, Junon's harbor and under Junon, and even Shinra's positioning at Calm to descend from above, all serve as positional imposition of authority and class. This top-down positioning is how elitists opt to display dominance in a system where they rule over scarcity, pollution, and classism. And in the world of Final Fantasy VII, people living in dire straits have no choice but to acknowledge the external pressures caused by the way they are governed. They are well aware of the socioeconomic implications of business as usual, because they face even more risk with fewer resources. Yet the secure model of Midgar and Shinra at large functions as Michel Foucault would describe a panopticon. The Shinra building towers at the center of Midgar as a specter of observation, while those with tanha, or unwholesome desire, see it as a ladder and a challenge to climb. The wise, or those with shanda, wholesome determination, see it as a monument to domination through injustice. The wise also point out the use of surveillance, corporate authority, and military presence, and how they are not only at the root of the dystopia, but they are far from desirable. Social conditioning around Shinra's regime choices also center around social conformity, surveillance, and use of militarized police coercion, all of which is being aided by digital systems that track behavior, preferences, and movement. These specifically undermine human rights that were enshrined in the UN General Assembly and the civil rights that were etched in the US's Bill of Rights. What's more, these conditions are broadcast constantly as the new normal, in quotes, all the while stoking a deeply seated, even subconscious anxiety. All of this said, I think Final Fantasy VII is less a video game and more an allegorical mirror we can use in order to glimpse the polycrisis we live in the real world, and I'm being dead serious. Systems that concentrate power, environments that reflect social division, and mechanisms that shape behavior appear in both contexts. And all of this is better focused when we also take the characters into account. They don't just oppose the evil regime, they have to live inside it like we do. Cloud Strife, a young man who tried to make a name for himself as a legendary hero, is forced to face his own helplessness. The so-called hero he once looked up to is shown to be the greatest threat to the planet. The propaganda said Sephiroth was the world's savior, but what he actually is an incarnation of supremacist radicalism, what the Third Reich would call an Übermensch. This particular insight shows us just how distorted and deadly this way of thinking is, and somehow we have to be taught this over and over and over. We're a species with amnesia, forced to revisit the same traumatic mistake, but unlike a video game, there is no restart after the game over screen. Cloud's party are a ragtag of people who had no choice but to make a stand. Tifa Lockhart, Barrett Wallace, Aerith Gainsborough, Yuffie Kisaragi, and Red 13 each have a personal grievance with Shinra, but also had to shift their attention to the immediate emergency that threatens the planet. Even within Shinra, individuals such as Reeve do what they can and must to oppose injustice. This brings me to John Rawls, as he's shown in his work A Theory of Justice, that justice is made clear when we imagine ourselves being the people who are the most subjected to injustice. Running beneath all of this is the memory of a different relationship between human beings and the planet. In ancient times, the Cetra understood the Lifestream as a continuity that binds all beings across time. Those who die return to the planet and contribute to the overall life force that brings new life. This cycle is what sustains the planet as a unified system, and thus, knowing this, the extraction of Mako, which is found to be physical evidence of the Lifestream, goes beyond being an economic act. It becomes a moral dilemma, that being the debate between hypermaterialism and what we call planetary spiritualism. There are echoes of this in our own history. The Indus Valley civilization, often referred to as Maluha, shows signs of complex urban life without the same emphasis on militarization seen elsewhere. Its cities reflect planning and coordination without large monuments to conquest or domination. Found all throughout ancient peoples and even Japan today are sacred spaces existing within nature rather than apart from it, and the land was understood as part of a living relationship relationship rather than an inert object. These are not perfect systems, but they show that the current model is not the only one that has existed in human consciousness. That continuity carries into traditions such as Buddhism, Shintoism, Jainism, and Taoism, each offering a way of understanding life that does not center around materialism. As an engaged Buddhist, this matters because we consider our position in the world through deeply introspective mindfulness practices, such as 1. Reverence for life, 2. Right livelihood, 3. True love or loving kindness, 4. Right speech and deep listening, and 5. Nourishment and healing. This list is from Thich Nhat Hanh, and as he said, the earth is not just our environment, the earth is us. This statement is the exact truth of our lives in this world. We are not separate from the planet. We are born from it, dependent upon it. And the same goes for every person, animal, and object. So it is in our deepest of interest to take care of this planet. To disregard this relationship, as is the case with modern power structures, is to literally live in an unwholesome manner. The misalignment of modernity and our relationship with the planet is brought to the fore in the Final Fantasy VII franchise. That is why I am a longtime fan of the franchise to this very day. And that is why I am here speaking to you now, unabashedly, by sharing the fact that I feel inspired by characters like Cloud and Barrett. Though I wish they could solve their problems with non-violence, this video game still does more to expose our moral quandary than most literary works to date. And dare I say, the adventure is chock full of just the right fun and silliness. The same can be said about the real world around us. But again, if there's anything to take away from this video, it's this. Final Fantasy VII isn't just a video game, and it isn't as much about a fantasy world than it is an allegory of the real world, and its insights are deeply profound. And with that, I hope I gave you some food for thought. If you liked my thesis, I'm happy to inform you that I have written more essays like this one in my book, Our Crisis of Priorities, which I can link you to in the description below. And with that, my dear YouTube Sangha, I've got to go. I hope that you liked this video, and if you did, please leave a like. If you want to see more content like this, consider subscribing. Let me know in the comment section below if you want me to cover another topic. And in the meantime, be well.